In a closely watched labor dispute, Uber has reached a settlement with 385,000 drivers in California and Massachusetts. The drivers will remain classified as contractors, but Uber will pay up to $100 million to the drivers as compensation. WSJ's Lauren Weber joins us now to discuss. Hi, Lauren. Great to see you.
You too.
So was this lawsuit a serious legal challenge to Uber's very business model?
It was, because in what they provide as an on-demand company, they were saying we're just an app that connects drivers and passengers. That allowed them to operate a very high-margin business. If they had to actually employ those drivers, and there's about 500,000 of them in the U.S., they would have been responsible for a lot of payroll taxes. They would have been responsible probably for health insurance and many other things. It would have been a far more expensive business model for them.
So they settled $100 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but you make the point it's actually not when spread out among all the drivers, correct?
Right. Well, I mean, they're valued at about $62 billion right now. So $100 million, when you look at that, is, you know, it's a lot of money, but it's not necessarily going to make a dent in their valuation.
Sure. Right.
And they're very profitable. Well, I actually don't know if they're very profitable. They're not public, but they have this very high margin model, and they're obviously highly valued because of what investors believe that they can do in terms of profit.
What else do the drivers get out of this? They got the money, but they also got a few other things. Now they can solicit tips, correct?
Well, the money is probably relatively nominal because it covers so many drivers. So each individual driver won't get that much. But the more important parts for the drivers are that Uber is changing its policy around both tipping. They can now put a note in the cars saying that, even though there's a service fee attached to every ride, that is not actually a tip. Many riders probably think it is, but it's not. So now drivers can sort of solicit a tip. But probably the most important part is they've changed their deactivation policy. So in the past, drivers have really complained because Uber could just kick people off of the app. You could get in your car one day and suddenly find that you didn't have access to what you thought was your job that day, your income. Now they're putting in place more transparent process for people to understand when they're in danger of being kicked off the app. And they're also piloting something where drivers can appeal and possibly have their case be looked at by other drivers.
So a little bit more transparency there for the drivers. Now, will this apply to all Uber drivers, or just the ones in those two states?
Actually, it will be all in the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, because even though the settlement money will only go to the drivers in this case, the 385,000, the deactivation policy will go nationwide.
And the soliciting tips.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So can we expect then to see something similar happen in all of these sort of on-demand economy companies? We're seeing, Lyft, all of these cleaning companies. Will similar lawsuits follow?
Well, there have been other lawsuits filed against other of the on-demand companies. Lyft actually just reached a settlement a few weeks ago, but the judge rejected it, so that one is still in process over similar issues. Some of the cleaning companies like Handy and Homejoy have also faced lawsuits about, whether or not the cleaners are contractors or should be classified as employees. So there are a lot of these out there. They haven't gotten nearly as much attention as the Uber case. So I don't expect the cases will end. I think what's interesting about this one is that many people were watching these Uber cases because, hoping for some guidance on the big questions about worker classification and how do we view workers in an on-demand economy.
Sure.
And right now, those are still unsettled.
It's sort of a Wild West in many ways. Now, should all of this make investors jittery?
Well, they had been a little jittery. We've written about this in the past, given that there was so much uncertainty around this. If anything, I think this might make investors feel a little bit more secure about what the business model looks like, and a feeling that they could beat back legal challenges, or if not beat them back, at least
Settle.
Settle.
Lauren Weber, thank you so much for that.
Thanks.